10 years ago today, the New York Mets won the National League Championship Series over the Cubs and went to the World Series. What a life it was. I miss those days. And last night, George Springer hit a home run that will live on in baseball lore and really Toronto lore. A 3-run go-ahead homer to send the Blue Jays to the World Series. Obviously happened in the 7th inning. The bullpen got the job done. And George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Blue Jays are advancing to face the LA Dodgers. Game 1 on Friday night. Toronto home field advantage. So 2-3-2. They were down 2-0. They were down 3-2. Backs against the wall. They come back and win the series. Shout out to them. Man, you feel bad for the Mariners, who were as close as they've ever been to making a World Series and falling just short. And that's what happens. You don't put your stopper in that spot in the 7th, which is what they should have done with Munoz. They didn't put him in, and Springer hits one to the moon. And, I've watched the replay a million times. What a moment. And, you have to wonder, George Springer would have looked good in a Mets uniform, huh? George Springer could have been a New York Met. And obviously past regimes were, kind of inept in some ways that the Mets have had and put together teams that were good, but didn't make that move to get them over the top. And George Springer's a player you dream about in October, who is a playoff performer. And I think a lot of Met fans have gotten tied emotionally to certain players on this team, but they have to realize you want winners here. You want guys that perform in October, and Springer is that guy. And man, a guy from Connecticut, I think he wanted to be a New York Met. The Blue Jays were willing to go to 6 years, signing him for 6 years, $250. And instead, the Mets shifted to Brandon Nimmo and signed him for 8 years, $162. And man, if you're thinking about it right now, would you have rather have Brandon Nimmo or George Springer? You'd have to be insane to say Brandon Nimmo. And, George Springer still able to play center. Brandon Nimmo, unable. Brandon Nimmo has moved on to left. George Springer playing through that knee injury, getting hit in the knee, hits the homer. What a story for Springer. And, man, you just wish he was a Met. This is a guy that you want in October. He'll get you there, and then he'll perform when he is there. And it really sucks that George Springer, obviously this is far and gone, but it's a story that's come up, with the fact that he was a free agent. Remember, the Mets ended up in that offseason. They did trade for Francisco Lindor. That's when Cohen bought the team the end of 2020. This was the 5th year for Cohen. Springer, has not put up insane numbers in a Blue Jays uniform in the regular season, but this guy just gets it done in the postseason. 23 homers, 47 RBIs in his postseason career. I mean, that's enough homers for like a full season. Over 78 playoff games, he's 11-6 in postseason play, and obviously a World Series champion with the Houston Astros, where he was the World Series MVP. Man, George Springer. Sandy Alderson and company, and, they had Porter who got canned and Zach Scott. Everything went wrong with the Mets front office at that time, before obviously David Stearns came in here after the 2023 season. And, Alderson led the way kind of as the GM, and man, did he miss in not signing George Springer. But shout out to the Blue Jays. I'm taking Dodgers in 6, guys. I just think the Dodgers are a powerhouse and just too good. I'm Jake Brown, at Jake Brown Live. You're watching Mets Daily. Smash that thumbs up on this video right now. Hit that subscribe button, please. Share the channel. Scan this code. Become a Mets Daily Insider. Just $5 a month. And follow me at Jake Brown Live on all socials. 10 years ago. Man, let's get back to a World Series. Could Luis Robert help the Mets get there? To be honest, I don't understand the obsession. We've had Draftneck Mark on. He loves Luis Robert. Luis Robert has a $20 million option for the White Sox that they may end up picking up and seeing if he could return to the player that he was for really one season. And that's where it bothers me when people get overhyped about Luis Robert. He did this for one season. In 2023, Luis Robert hit 23 homers, drove an 80, hit 264, stole 20 bases. Now, he stole 33 bases this year, 14 homers, 53 RBIs, and OBP under 300. We all go back to that 2023 season, but that was now 3 years ago. When we enter 2026, it'll be 3 years ago. So I just don't get it. Why are you picking up a $20 million option for Luis Robert, trading for him, trading players for him, for the hope that he'll get back to a player he was 3 years ago. This is a guy who's had injury concerns throughout his whole career. Played 110 games this year, 100 last year, 145 in that year we talked about, 98 the year before that, 68 the year before. He's an okay player, but I don't know. It's like when you talk about Jeff McNeil, who was a batting champion once. Yeah, that was 3-4 years ago. We can't keep living in the past with guys and hoping on the potential that they showed maybe over the course of one season where everything went right. As we know in baseball, it doesn't go that way every year. And for multiple years, it hasn't for him. So I'm not really in the camp of trade for Luis Robert, pay him $20 million, and hope that he returns to old form. Now, it is a 1-year commitment, so you can argue try it for a year. If he fails in the first half, you go to Carson Bench. But I just think there's better options. Like, I'd rather go for Cody Bellinger, or even if it's a 1 year, go for Trent Grisham for a year. I just think you're taking a chance with Robert. You took a chance with Jose Siri at a lower level, a guy who, showed potential a couple years ago, hit 25 homers. You fell flat on your face with that one. I just fear that Robert, if he doesn't return to old form, you're falling flat on your face again going for Luis Robert. Do you have interest in Luis Robert? Is he a guy that, I see a lot of fans, I see my guys, Mark and even like Joe DeMeo, who love going for Luis Robert Jr., and I'm not in that camp, guys. I don't understand the fascination with him, and I'll pass on going for him and then paying him $20 million. It doesn't intrigue me that much. All right, folks, let's respond to your comments from Monday's Mets Daily Show. From Mark Batch 60, Mets will need to feel pain with any package given up for a number one starter. Great take on all things Mets. Appreciate it, Mark. From Ronald Walters 3843, they need to make sure you sign any ace you bring in 100%. From the O Isaac, the classic Let's Go Mets comment. Let's go Mets. John 79 Sunset Park BK, kick the tires. I believe he's referring to Peralta or Green. I'm not sure on what he means on that one. From Malaza Consabor, Scooble can bring a lot of fans to Citi Field and good merchandise sale, plus can be captain of the pitcher squad and face of the franchise. Yes, he could be, but he also could be that if you sign him in free agency. So I don't believe in buying a jersey and calling him the captain of the pitcher squad if he's here for a year and then bolts. Now, again, he could be here for a year, you pay him, but I don't want to keep going down this route. Why are you doing it for a rental? I don't get it. From Arcade Perfect Reviews, I'll take Freddie. If we get Green, hopefully we get someone else too. He's pretty injury prone. Yeah, that's the thing with we talked about with Hunter Green. If you trade for him, he has not had the longevity. Peralta has, but again, Peralta's 1 year, Green's under contract for 3. So where do you go there? You're not going to trade for both. You're going to trade for one of them, if any at all. So we'll see. I think Scooble, Peralta, Hunter Green, it just smells like one of them ends up as a Met. Considering this free agent starting pitching market is not much to write home about. They could go with Michael King. Again, former Yankee. Mendoza knows him. Do they want to pay him? Another guy with some injury concerns. From Goaty Goat, only pick Stru if you can get a contract done as soon as he comes in. I think he means Scooble. I don't know what Stru means. Yes, you want to get a contract locked in if you get him. From Phil36971, Soto won't be 30 until October 2028. Yes, I don't know what that is in relation to exactly, what we were talking about where that comes in, but yes, that is a fact. Soto's still in his prime. All right, guys, World Series, let us know what you got. I'm taking Dodgers at 6, but 10 years ago, the Mets today, they clinched a spot in the World Series. I remember it very well. I was in studio working for CBS Radio, doing my podcast late night. I had taken the next day off. I didn't email to that night. CBS Sports Radio folks were ripping me on air all morning, thinking that I took the day off because I was celebrating. Meanwhile, I was working later than they ever did in the studio till 11 at midnight, pre-recording interviews for my show for Brown and Scoop at the time, or it might have been yes, it was Brown and Scoop 2015. And I was actually seeing Jimmy Kimmel in Brooklyn the next day, and they did a whole segment calling me a lazy millennial. Meanwhile, I worked harder than any of them have in their entire lives. So that was a fun day. Getting roasted by my own coworkers on the station the day after the Mets had made the World Series. Smash that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, and follow me at Jake Brown Live. You're watching Mets Daily. We're here all off season long, taking you through the Mets hot stove. Appreciate you joining us and being part of the Mets Daily family, and we'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks for watching.